guys, it's Kevin Davis from Detailers Helper, and today I want to talk about empowering employees. So whether or not you're a small shop right now and you just have and you don't necessarily have plans for adding employees, I would encourage you to think long term about your business, who's going to run it 10 years from now, whatever, how you're going to survive, how you're going to grow, that kind of thing. So pretty much most of us, unless you're just doing this part-time on the side, will eventually have the need for employees. You may be running a big shop. You may have 20 employees. I think this still applies. We were having a conversation on Facebook the other day about, somebody said, I don't understand why my employees have to ask me every single time before they do something. And so I posed the question, have you done anything in the past that would make them afraid to make decisions? And it sort of helped him do some soul searching. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to share this with you guys. So having employees is a bit like having kids, where you are in a situation you want them to sort of branch out on their own. You want them to be able to make their own decisions. You want them to feel empowered to be able to do what they need to do without your direct intervention. If you have a kid that's, 5 years old, yeah, they need total guidance. They need to know what to do. But if they're 15, you don't want to have to tell them the same things. They should know by then not to touch a hot stove, not to do this, not to walk out into a busy street, that kind of thing. And the analogy is similar to employees. When you have a new employee, obviously you've got training manuals, you've got training systems, you have things that they need to do specific things so that they understand what you expect, what the procedures that they're supposed to use, and they can use that to grow and learn long term. But what we want to do is, as they grow and learn, we want them to begin to feel empowered to make those decisions without asking you every single time. You shouldn't have employees that have been there for 6 months to a year asking you which polish they should use for which step, which cleaner they should use for in the interior versus the exterior, what do you use on wheels, all that stuff. You should not have to get involved in that decision. And I know sometimes as detailers, we tend to be very anal, detail-oriented. That's sort of the nature of our thing. So we want perfection, and the problem with a lot of that is that we expect perfection in other people, and we don't know how to empower them to make their own decisions. And so we can derail the whole process. It doesn't make sense to have any employees if you have to engage with them constantly. So I want to talk a little bit about how to have employees and how to empower them to make decisions for themselves. Because our ultimate goal is that they're doing what they need to do to run the business. You can do more cars, you can do more RVs, whatever you're doing, so that you can concentrate on what you're doing, which is hopefully growing the business, getting new customers, servicing the customers, making it a good work environment, servicing the community, all of that stuff. So they're going to be sort of self-directed tools. In other words, they're making decisions that they need to make so that they can do what they need to do at the highest level without engaging you in every single decision. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to sort of balance between which decisions they need to make. So let's say first, let's figure out whether or not we are actually empowering our employees. You may be doing everything right, but let's look at this and say, are our employees afraid to fail? And the way that we can sort of determine that is do they ask questions a lot? Are they overly cautious about tasks? Do they engage you on every single decision? And are they afraid to take initiative, to try new things, to innovate, to come up with new procedures, to sort of do things differently to make it better, to grow the business, that sort of thing? So if that's true, if your employees give you the sense that they're afraid to fail or they're afraid to take initiative, then maybe it's time to do a little soul searching and sort of think back to why they might feel that way. In the past, have you flown off the handle? Have you gone crazy when they make a mistake? If something goes wrong, if they come to you with something, do you have time for that? Do you dismiss it? Do you tell them that the only way to do things is my way? Do they feel like that they're not allowed to even think on their feet, to make their own decisions, to do what they do best? And do you give sort of an attitude of, you better not screw up? If you do, you're in trouble? I've heard of guys talking about back charging employees for mistakes on cars if some accident happens or whatever. And that if that's your business decision, that makes sense, but I'm not a fan of that. I think what that does is create an environment where people are going to either lie to you and hide their mistakes, or they're going to be so paralyzed by that fear that they're not going to do the job that they can do. That's why we have insurance. things sometimes happens. If somebody has a chronic issue where they're just screwing up constantly and they're breaking stuff, then obviously that's a whole other issue. But I'm still thinking that it's a better idea to give them that empowerment to help them to be able to feel like they can fail and not have major repercussions or have pay cut out of their paycheck, that kind of thing. So how do you empower employees? So a lot of times it's just a matter of attitude and communication with their employees. So you need to make sure that you understand that they understand that you trust them to do their job. That's why you hired them. If you can't trust your employees, you should fire them. If you can't trust someone that's working for you, they shouldn't be working for you. And obviously there's a continuum there of trust versus good management and all that stuff. But if you can't have somebody working for you that if you don't trust the people that work for you, then they shouldn't be working for you, in my opinion. So make sure they understand that you trust them. Give them specific guidelines on what they should do and what you need to be involved in. So within these certain task lists, you can say, okay, these things, you do all these things, but if you find a huge scratch on the quarter panel that we didn't see during the inspection, you didn't do it, maybe get me involved in that. And that's just sort of your own business, how that plays out and what you want to do. But you need to give them specific guidelines so they know what they should involve you in and what they shouldn't involve you in. And that's sort of a dynamic process. You'll figure that out along the way. And sometimes it's just a matter of giving them a certain level of decision-making power. So let's say you've got a mobile truck that's running and they have an issue with a machine. So let's say a hose bursts or whatever for the pressure washer. Well, I'm of the opinion that it would be better for me to just go ahead and give them permission to buy a $20 pressure washer hose, $25, whatever it costs, instead of calling me, having me get involved, make sure I can be available, have them wait on the job or all that. If you can do that, then that money is going to come back to you because they feel empowered to make those decisions. You sort of have to babysit that a little bit in the beginning to make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. But a lot of times you can give a dollar amount that will help them make the right decisions. Give them a sort of permission, a threshold. Okay, if it's over $25, make sure you get me involved. If the pressure washer blows up, don't just go buy another one. That whole thing. So the big thing I think is that when your employees screw up throughout time, especially in the beginning, but sort of a learning process, don't freak out. You want to control your attitude and communicate with them. And this would be the same like we said for kids. You want to make sure you're communicating with them that they're not the screw up. You don't want to freak out. You don't want to go off the handle. You don't want to go nuts. You want to try to focus on correcting the behavior without making them feel like that they're a total screw up and they should get you involved every time to make sure they don't screw up again. So, let's say that somebody burns paint or whatever. You can talk them through to make sure they fully understand the policies or the procedures, the right products, the right tools to sort of figure out how it happens, do a debrief on it, figure out what exactly happened. Was it their issue? And if it is their issue, figure out a way to communicate with them that, yeah, I understand. I'm glad that you're doing your job, but here's the way that we can fix it. Here's the way that we can do things better to correct that behavior in the future, but don't make them afraid to do their job. So that's a big thing. So, this is pretty simple. It's pretty short. But really, if you're going to hire employees, you want to make sure that they're able to have the right level of empowerment. You want to trust them to do what they do. You want to make sure that they feel like that they can innovate, that they can do the best job they can, take ownership of their role in your business and growing the business. So if you're not currently employing anybody, this is something to think about long term. If you are employing people, you may have a sit down with these guys and sort of talk through and say, hey, do you guys feel empowered to make decisions? Do you feel like that I've overstepped in the past? Do you feel like that I micromanage too much? That sort of thing. So then you can figure out this empowerment level. And I think that you'll be surprised that a group of empowered employees will grow your business and lower your stress level more than you would expect. So I hope that helps. I'm Kevin Davis doing what I do so you can do what you do better.